Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasker. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels, and it is now the end of the summer movie season. Yes, we do have no. We're through the end because tomorrow.
Technically, there's 2 days left in August when we're recording this, but things aren't going to change on these numbers. So
yeah, there's nothing really coming out that's going to really break the mold for the summer movie season for us. But we had a big summer movie season coming through. We had some movies we loved. We have some movies we did not like at all, and then we had some that just disappointed us or surprised us. And then of course we had our box office predictions that I will bring back up that we made in April. Brian definitely won this year. He definitely did better. At least this year we have an actual winner. It wasn't like the last 2 years where we fucked up because of Top Gun Maverick and then we fucked up because of Barbie and Oppenheimer. At least this year as bad as you beat me, I was still like in the realm of being close. You had I'm pretty sure you had the whole top 5 correct.
The top 5 I had top 3 correct in the correct order. Twisters I had above
4 and 5 swapped. Yeah, 4 and 5, which I'll bring them up. I'll bring them up here in a little bit. But yeah, you definitely won this summer. Compared to neither one of us won the last 2 summers. We both just bombed profusely. But what were your thoughts on the summer? Not so far. What was your thoughts now at the end of summer? Did you think it was a good summer, bad summer?
Overall, I liked it. I mean, there weren't a whole lot of movies that I just loved. I mean, there's a lot of good, entertaining movies that I saw that I enjoyed. Some of the ones I really liked are the ones that really underperformed, so that was disappointing. Some of the ones I really didn't give a shit about, like Despicable Me and For Me, Inside Out 2, those did phenomenal numbers, which good for them, but just weren't my thing. And then there's kind of a lot of the middle of the road. Like even if you look at the box office, it's like there was only like 4 big huge blockbusters, and then like a kind of a drop, and then everything else. It's a very kind of mediocre as far as performance. But I mean, I enjoyed it. There weren't any gigantic disappointments for me. Almost everything kind of hit right where I expected it to. I mean, there's some that did surprise me a little or disappoint me a little, but nothing major that didn't turn out like expected.
I know you and I were both angry, not like throwing a shit fit, but you and I were both kind of angry and disappointed with a lot of the people in the first month, because there were some, like you said, some stellar films that came out in the first month of summer, and they bombed in theaters. Now, granted, if it was not summer, they would have had a decent, final box office, but like Furiosa, The Fall Guy, those two movies were great. And Fall Guy did not break 100 mil. We both thought it would. Furiosa, we both thought we're going to be, because of Mad Max Fury Road, we expected that to be a juggernaut, and it didn't even get to 70 mil domestic. Yeah. And it was just like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? Like, you got these great films out here, and no one wants to see them. Like, you and I both got pissed when it was less than a month that Fall Guy went to digital. And it's just like, this movie can still make money. Like, just go see this movie. It's so fucking good. It was our number 1 movie of the half year. And it's still going to be probably in our top 5 unless we have a really great second half.
I also kind of feel like after Deadpool and Wolverine and Twister and some of these movies came out, they kind of got people going back to theaters again. I almost feel like if those 2 movies had come out in like August, they might have done more like Alien Romulus. They might have done some good money. People are like, oh, we're back in the mood for big blockbuster movies. But this was like kind of that early summer, late spring kind of area those came out when people are still just kind of like,
Like Fall Guy, I can kind of not get that it failed, because I still think it made almost 93 million. It didn't fail, but compared to how much it cost to make it, it failed. But it's it came out first week of May. People are still in school. People are still dealing with end of school stuff. And then by the time people were probably getting into the swing of summer, it's getting released on digital in like a week or 2, so we'll just wait. That was more the studio that gave up on it. They probably should have given it at least another month to kind of get some legs and grow. Furiosa, though, no, there's no excuse for Furiosa. Yeah. Summer was already underway. Everyone was out of school.
I don't get it at all.
I don't understand Furiosa. Now, granted, you and I both really enjoyed the film. It's not as good as Fury Road, but it's still one of the better films of the year. But I don't understand why no one wanted to go see it. And I can't chalk it up to, it's because of Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. because while we both enjoy both of them, they're not like these big box office draws that you remove them and there goes your 100 mil. It's like, no, it's not the case. I don't understand why Furiosa bombed. Now,
especially when, like, you know what was really the breaking point for me was the day that Longlegs passed up Furiosa in box office. I'm like, what the fuck, people? Do you have no taste at all?
Well, that's because you hated Longlegs. But once again, horror movies are going to get that extra bump because of that. Plus, once again, just like, and we've talked about this on other episodes, when you label the scariest movie since blah, 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 that is the easiest marketing ploy to get people to go spend money to see this, a horror film, is when you throw that bullshit line, the scariest movie of the decade, the scariest movie since The Exorcist. Why that's the fucking tentpole, I have no idea. But every time they throw that thing on there, I'm like, okay, well, this movie's easily going to win #1 this weekend because everyone falls for this ploy. And it's a bullshit ploy that 90% of the time is not true. And it usually pisses you and me the fuck off. Now, like I said, I thought Longlegs was fine for what it was. You hated it. And that's the one thing too, is like, there are people who are like, I can't believe Brian fucking hated Longlegs. I was like, I totally understand why Brian hated Longlegs. I saw everything else in it that made me go, it's fine. It's not this great, amazing thing that everyone is claiming it is. It's one of the most overrated films of the year. But when I go back and think about it now, I'm like, it doesn't, my score's not going to lower. But I'm like, I totally understand why Brian hates this movie. It's not Brian's movie. It's not Brian's temple. Brian loves horror. Kind of Brian loves horror, but he doesn't like that kind of horror. You know, like, Brian is not a big True Detective fan with some horror elements, especially when it's tacked on like it was at the end of that movie. Spoiler for a movie that's been out for a few months, which even then, that's not even a spoiler. But there were just some movies that I think a lot of people expected to do really, really well that just didn't. Horizon, we both expected that to bomb.
Horizon was one of those. I thought Horizon was one of those ones we both kind of had. It could either really do well if it catches on, or it could flop. And it
was either going to flop, or it was going to be The Sound of Freedom, where all of a sudden, like, everyone wants to see this movie.
Yeah,
we didn't think it was going to bomb so bad that they're like, we're not even going to release the second one.
Yeah,
I like Kevin. I really enjoy Kevin Costner, so I don't want him to fail. But I audibly laughed out loud when I read that they're like, we're just not going to drop the second one in theaters. I was like, really? Like, that's fucked up.
Well, it's like we're not going to put the second one in theaters, and 3 and 4, which he already had planned, filmed part of 3. They might not even make those now. So
and it's already on Max, so like maybe it'll get legs.
Well, they're hoping that'll get some kind of following that they'll support to put out the second one. But
you know what? Yellowstone comes back in November. Maybe him being back on TV will maybe we'll go, oh yeah, didn't he make a movie? And so yeah, it's a 1 of 4. But
well, I think that also the fact that it's chapter 1, that a lot of people said, I'm in no rush to see it then because it doesn't be the whole movie. And also the fact that it was like, over 3 hours long. And like, okay, this is something I'd rather wait and watch at home with bathroom breaks and my own food.
And I'm not even going to lie. There was a couple times when I pulled up Max and it was the first thing on there. I looked at it. I was like, maybe I'm like, nah, that's still the one that keep me from watching Rebel Moon, the directs. Because I was last night, I was like looking for something to watch. And I was like, I could start Rebel Moon. And then I was like, it's already like 12:30. I'm not going to start this thing and then not finish it. And I'm not going to be up till like 4:30 in the morning watching Rebel Moon.
And with Horizon, I've done that where I turned it on. I saw it up there. I'm like, should I watch this? I'm like, I'll wait till they put out part 2 and I'll just watch them both together. You know,
probably, and try to watch it like in parts, like when they did
like over a week. Yeah,
exactly. When the Hateful Eight decided we're going to do this in like episode increments, I'm like, hey, I'll watch you then. Because Hateful Eight, I'm sorry, that one was way too long for what it was. Once they broke it up like that, I was like, this actually is tolerable to watch.
I will say on the flip side of things, though, as far as stuff that kind of broke out that we didn't expect to do well, which I think we had mentioned as like this is something that could hit and break out. It Ends With Us made a ton more money than I expected it to.
What's funny about this was that you talked about this during some movie preview that It Ends With Us could be a breakthrough hit. And I was like, I don't really know much about it. And you're like, oh yeah, it's got Blake Lively. It's going to be one of those, your romantic
counter programming, yeah,
exactly. And then when you saw the trailer, you're like, oh no, this is not going to be that good.
Well, no, I saw the trailer and I said I'm not interested in it. I don't think it really affected my expectations at box office though.
This one was a quiet one too, because I looked at it and I was like, fuck, I didn't think this made that much money. Like I know it won, its first week, but a lot of people were like, oh, it's because of Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds and now Blake Lively. Yeah, they're running, but I didn't think it made $125 million. Like I looked at
Yeah,
that, I
it's
was
like
like,
number 8 for the summer. Yeah.
yeah, because I was like putting the thing together, and I was like, well, that came out of nowhere. Like I didn't even think about that
And
one.
honestly, it'll probably before it's done, it'll probably pass up Quiet Place to move up to number 7 because it's still kind of doing well.
It's about 13, 14 mil away. Quiet Place is already on digital, so that's done. Honestly, it just needs a good mid week or two, and it probably will jump over A Quiet Place, which also makes me sad. That's another movie that we really expected, really well. But hey, if it ends in the top 10, I'm happy. I think one that you and I were both like, it's either going to flop or do well, but it actually did well was If. If crossed the 100 mil mark, it was a top 10er. I think you and I both had it like we both I think you actually did put it in your top 10, and I had it right outside the top
I had it
10.
at 6, you had it at 11.
Yeah, I had it right outside because I was like, I want this to do well because I like everyone in it, but I don't think it's going to get the traction that it needs. Mainly because, and this is the last time I try to read up on this shit before we make our predictions. Everyone talked like Garfield was going to be one of the biggest hits of the summer. Granted,
you were sold to Garfield.
Worldwide, though, it was a top 10er. And
and for its first couple of weeks, it was doing well. I'm like, wow, Sean's gonna be right. I mean, it wasn't gonna be a huge blockbuster, but I'm like, this is gonna make the top 10. Sean was right, and then it like just hit a wall and stopped. Which doesn't surprise me because then, of course, especially once Inside Out and Despicable Me came out, it was like done.
I think it was literally Inside Out. I think everyone was like, oh shit, Inside Out 2 is actually really fucking good. Garfield's just fine to okay as it was. But yeah, I felt good for about 2 weeks, and then I was like, oh shit, I backed the wrong horse. What I do want to say is the happiest thing about this whole summer for me is that Despicable Me 4 did not win the summer. It did not cross did it cross $1 billion? I don't think it crossed $1 billion.
I don't know worldwide. It's at about 350 million domestic.
Let me pull it up here real quick. It's at 887 million right now. So it did not cross $1 billion. That makes me, call me a hater all you want. I don't care. That makes me so much joy that Despicable Me maybe is finally simmering down. Maybe people are finally getting taste in movies again. Well, no, because you guys fucked up Furiosa and The Fall Guy. But still, baby steps, guys. Despicable Me 4 fuck. So it didn't win the summer box offices, which made us both happy. I don't think neither one of us had it ending number 1. I had it number 2 because I thought it was going to do more than Inside Out. But I'm happy that Inside Out did as well as it did because it was actually really good. It was right there with 1, which I know you're not the biggest fan of either of them. Well, you didn't watch the second one, did you?
I didn't bother seeing this one. No.
Yeah, it's right there with 1, if not a little better, depending on who you are. Obviously, if you're adolescent or if you're someone who had a tough adolescent, childhood, 2 is probably going to hit a lot better than 1 did for you. I thought it was really well done, so I'm glad that it did well. This is Pixar's, I think, first big hit since Toy Story 4, which granted, not too long ago, but there's been a lot of Pixar films in between there that just did not.
Also, a lot of them didn't even go to theaters though. So.
Well, yeah, now they're trying to do re-releases. No, you can't. You can watch them on Disney Plus for free. People are not going to go.
That was more just for I think the filmmakers look, we're going to put it in theaters if people that wanted to see it in the theater can see it that way, but it was never going to make any money.
No one wants to see Turning Red in theaters, guys. Stop trying to make Turning Red happen. Deadpool Wolverine made their money. I think at least I did. I thought it was going to blow up way bigger than it did. It still did great. It still crossed $1 billion. I just did not think Inside Out 2 was going to beat it. But it finished second. And Deadpool did exactly what it set out to do. It shook the foundation of the summer movie season. You either loved it or you decided to be an MCU hater and then bitched and moaned and tried to make everyone that did like it feel stupid for liking it, which fuck off. But Deadpool went and did what they did, and kudos to them. You were right. I was wrong about Bad Boys. I felt, as much as we both love Bad Boys, I felt that I didn't think outside of us that people still loved it the same way that we loved it. I was wrong. It finished 5th on the year. It made almost $200 million. That makes me happy. I'm glad to be wrong about that. Came to the Planet of the Apes, did great money. I think it was about right on parish with the trilogy. And that was another movie that I think I was more excited that it did well than you. Not that you wanted it to fail, but I'm more of a Planet of the Apes, new Planet of the Apes fan than you are. So I was happy that it was at number 6. It was a great. It made a good showing at the box office. I think you and I, probably the one that you and I are probably the happiest about doing so well was Twisters, because we were worried that people weren't going to give a shit about it.
We both had that. I think I had read at 5. You had it like 6, and I was like, I think it's going to do real well. I want it to do real well. So part of my placing it that high was just kind of hoping and wishing, and it turned out to really catch on. And it had longevity too. It kept making money for weeks and weeks, and I was so happy when it kept making money.
Yeah, 250 mil for Twisters. I'm so happy it did well. I'm open to seeing more if they decide to do more, as long as you have the cast come back. I don't want a whole new cast for Twisters. If we're doing it, I want it with the OG, or not the OG cast, but I want it with this cast here. But yeah, bringing up the final domestic box, well, not final, but the final as of today domestic broadcast. We had like I said, Inside Out 2 was number 1, followed by Deadpool Wolverine. Despicable Me 3 taking the number 3 spot. Fuck you. Twisters at number 4. Bad Boys Ride or Die. I did it right that time. Didn't say For Life. At the number 5 spot. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at 6. A Quiet Place Day 1 at number 7. It Ends With Us at 8. If at 9. With Fall Guy right at 10, with Garfield literally like less than 1 million right
now. And I will say that the only thing that has a chance of still changing, I mean, for this period, this is the top 10. But as far as the films released in summer, Alien Romulus has got a good chance of knocking Fall Guy out of that number 10 spot in a few weeks.
And It Ends With Us will probably jump A Quiet Place from 8 to 7. Yeah. Going to worldwide, since I like to talk about worldwide. This is a little bit different, but not by so much. Inside Out 2, still 1. Deadpool Wolverine 2. Despicable Me 3. Bad Boys was 4. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was 5. Twisters was 6. Then 7 was Quiet Place again. Garfield was 8. It Ends With Us was 9. And If was number 10 with blanking on Fall Guy was 11, followed by Furiosa, Alien Romulus, Long Legs, and Challengers. Bringing up our predictions, like I said, Brian, for the most part, if we're sticking with just domestic final, Twisters and Bad Boys, you swapped those, you had the top 5 perfect. You had If actually pretty high. That was probably your biggest discrepancy was If, that you had them at 6. And Fall Guy was 7. Furiosa, we both fucked up on Furiosa. No, we didn't fuck up. The people fucked up on Furiosa.
People fucked up.
Quiet Place at 9, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at 10. Like I said, and mine, like I said, I bought into the Garfield hype. So I had Deadpool Wolverine at 1, Despicable Me 2 or 4 at 2, Inside Out 4 at 3, Garfield 4, Furiosa 5, Twister 6. Fall Guy at 7, Quiet Place at 8, Bad Boys at 9, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at 10. Yeah.
As far as quantity, I mean, I had, assuming Alien Romulus doesn't jump it, like as of right now, I had 9 of the top 10 in my top 10. I just wasn't expecting It Ends With Us to jump up there. And you would have been tied with me if not for your Garfield love, because you had Garfield up there. So you had 8 of the top 10 still right, which is still good.
And I had If right there at 11. Yeah. So close. I think we both did you do it too, or was it just me? Yeah, we both had Borderlands.
Borderlands in that question mark. It was one of those things. Borderlands is one of those where we both kind of said it has potential, but we have to wait and see it first. And then we saw it, and we're like, yeah, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, we both had Borderlands in the potential. We both had Horizon in potential. We both had Alien Romulus. You had Babes though. That one's a
well. Babes is one of those ones that it's kind of like that. Bridesmaids or Hangover or something like that. It's one of those kind of comedies that sometimes catches on in the summer and ends up being like the big comedy of the summer. But then I saw it. Well, actually, I only watched the first half hour up and turned. And
you walked out on it.
I walked out on it, and then B, it only got a very, very small. It didn't even get like a full release, so I was like, oh well, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, one of them at number 15 right now, the current one, Trap, is there. That could that's not gonna catch Furiosa. It's not gonna catch it. It's about 28
Thank God.
million
Oh
for
my God.
Furiosa.
It snapped that
Um,
did.
but talk about the shit one right after that, Strangers. I'm glad that didn't do well. Are we gonna get? Have they even announced when Chapter 2 or Chapter 3 is coming out?
No, last I heard, the plan was for all three of them to come out this year. Like
I have
one in
not
like
seen a release date for any of the other
like
two.
one July, one in like October, and one in or something like that. They may have pushed them back, or they may decide to just drop them straight to streaming because they didn't make any money. So
yeah, because we're getting ready to do the fall movie preview or the rest of the year.
and there's nothing on those,
and there's nothing on the docket for either of those two. Same thing with obviously Horizon. There's nothing on the docket for Chapter 2 as well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like compared to most summers, at least the last couple, there's some good movies, there's some bad movies, and then there's the ones that we were shocked and surprised by. But I mean, what would you say was your I already know what your favorite movie of the summer is. It was our number one film of the half year, which was Fall Guy. Unless or did something
still
jump
number one
Fall
Guy? Yeah.
Okay, Fall Guy still both our number one. Still our number one movie of the summer. No shocker there if you watch our half movie preview. What would you say was your most surprising film of the summer? The one that you were not expecting, not in terms of money, but in terms of like not expecting to enjoy it, and it was actually like, oh damn, that's actually
well, especially since we're not talking about money. I'm going to say my most surprising film of the summer wasn't even in the theater. My most surprising film of the summer was Beverly Hills Cop. I expected that movie to be, okay at best. It might be entertaining. I ended up really enjoying that. It was kind of Eddie getting to be old Eddie. They, didn't try to water it down for PG-13. They found kind of a way to, acknowledge the passage of time and the aging without like making it like, the crux of every joke. And while it's not like a, one of my top films of the year or anything at this point, I'd say the one that really kind of surprised me, pleasantly surprised, because I went in with kind of low expectations. So
okay,
I was happy to see that one.
Let me ask you this, because mine were going to be non-theater too. But if you're going theater, what was your surprise of the summer in theater?
If I'm going theaters, nothing super surprised me, but I will say, actually, I'm going to say Quiet Place Day One, which is one that
be good or what?
Well, it ended up ranking higher for me than I expected. So just looking kind of numerically, that's the one that kind of is better than I expected. You know what? I take that back. I'd say the surprise for me is actually going to be Kill. Which is it's a little movie. It was never going to make any money. It wasn't going to do anything. Right? It was like one of those ones kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just basically pure violence. And the first half is a little bit slow, but by the second half, it's just one of those ones. You love just watching just action, violence, fight scenes, kind of like, The Raid and Night Comes for Us, that kind of thing. And that one is just as far as just fun in a theater that I didn't know I was going to have. That's probably the
one. Mine, I'm double checking on it real quick to see if it actually was in theaters before I give this answer. Well, what was your most disappointing?
Most disappointing, I think. There's nothing that super disappointed me. Everything kind of hit exactly where I expected it to. I will say Hitman, while I enjoyed it, it wasn't quite the home run I wanted it to be. It kind of just the tone of it and kind of stuff didn't all work for me, but I still enjoyed it. Just it ended up ranking lower for me. And surprisingly, Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of, while it's probably like my number 3 or 4 movie of the summer. But it's like I wanted to love it, and it's like there was parts of it, and it was funny, and there are parts of it, but it's just like the story I didn't really care for. Some of the cameos, I was like, and it's one of those ways. It just, again, we're just talking disappointment. We're not talking quality, because I did like it. It's just didn't love it as much as I wanted to.
And what was the worst movie of the summer?
The worst movie I saw this summer?
Long Legs.
Was half of Babes.
Yeah, at least you finished Long Legs.
Yeah, Long Legs is going to be up there. The Crow is just kind of mediocre. Yeah, of the movies I finished, yeah, probably Long Legs. Yeah.
Yeah, like Lee both said, Fall Guy was definitely my favorite of the summer. If I'm going with surprising, Non-theater, just because I didn't expect anything to enjoy it going, it was Jackpot on Prime. I actually really I had fun with Jackpot. With John Cena and Aquafina. I laughed through that movie. I thought it was fun. It was a 90s throwback kind of film. And I really enjoyed that. Now going to theater. Now this one, much like Kill, did not have a huge release. So if you guys are like, oh, I didn't know it was in theaters, it was because they only made like 1 million in theaters. My biggest surprise of the summer, I just watched, which was Strange Darling. I didn't know much about this movie at all until Brian said he was going to watch it. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually hearing good word of mouth, which doesn't really mean shit, because usually good word of mouth doesn't mean much of anything. But I watched it, and I actually thought it was really, really good. And I agree with what everyone says. It's best to go in blind. Don't even watch a trailer for this thing. If you watch a trailer, you probably already have a good idea of what's going to happen in it, which is how Brian already kind of picked up on what the twist was going to be. I didn't see the trailer, so the twist came out of nowhere for me. Well, I had like an idea, but it was not this. It was different than where I thought it was going to go. I don't know. Mine actually could have been better. But yeah, Strange Darling was my surprise. Disappointing. I don't think it was disappointing because it's not a good movie, but I think it's just because with the people involved, I think you and I expected it to be better than what it was. And that was the Bike Riders. I think I just, with the cast and everything, I think we both expected Bike Riders to be better than what it was. And it was.
Well, honestly, I mean, when you gave me the cast and stuff, I'm like, oh, this could be good. And then I watched the trailer, and I already dropped my expectations based on that trailer. I really did.
Yeah,
I mean, the accents and the tone of it.
The trailer wasn't anything great, but I was like, you know what? I still believe that this is going to be good. It might not be great, but it's still going to be good. I just remember watching it and like time clocking it like every 20 minutes going, I just don't give a shit about anything that's happening in this damn movie. The performances weren't great. Tom Hardy was good, but like,
you're like, oh, that's why the studio dropped this one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, now everything starts to make sense. Worst movie of the summer for me. Oh, easy. Strangers, Chapter 1. Fuck that film.
See, I didn't see that one. Who knows? I could have been meant to.
Y'all know I hate that movie. It's one of my worst films of the year. But if I'm going with something besides that, I guess Crow. But I didn't hate Crow. It's just not good. But yeah, Strangers, Chapter 1. Worst movie. If we're going theater, if we're not going theater, trigger warning. It's the worst movie.
If we're not going theater on disappointments, then for me, it's The Killer, which I didn't even finish that movie. Well, I did, but I skipped through it and kind of watched it because I was just like, I had high hopes for that movie because Natalie Emmanuel and action stuff, but it was not.
And I had no hopes with that after I saw the trailer. You're like, oh, The Killer. I'm like, dude, that doesn't look good. Like, I'm not even gonna waste my time.
I didn't have expectations, but I had a hope.
Yes, you had hope for Natalie to do well. Anything you'd like to add for some movie preview before we end this?
No, I mean, overall, I thought it was a pretty good summer, and hopefully next year will be as good.
Yeah,
and we'll be as good on predictions as well.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna rub that in my face the next like year. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up, for next summer that has definitely some intriguing options. I don't have the list to pull them up right now, and I'm not gonna waste time trying to find it real quick. But when we get in January, when we go over most anticipated 2024. We'll have a general idea, and then once we come back for the summer movie preview next year, we'll definitely have an idea. Yeah. But how did your guys' box office predictions go, if you guys even did it? Let us know in the comments below. What was your favorite movie of the summer? What was your least favorite? Most surprising? Most disappointed? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And, of course, we're going to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, summer's over. We now go to fall. It is now time for our fall/end of the year preview, as Brian and I will go over everything that's coming out from now till the end of the year. What are our thoughts on certain movies that are getting released? What are we excited about? What are we anticipating? What do we just not give a rat's ass about? And trust me, there's some out there. And now there's one I know that Brian doesn't care about that I do. So not that we're going to have an argument about it, because I already know he doesn't give a shit about it. But yes, that'll be coming up here next. Our next big movie next week, Beetlejuice. The movie that we always heard was being made, but never thought it was actually going to be a real thing, is finally getting released. We may have a joint review for that, or it might just be a review by me. So that'll be next week. And then, of course, Movie Crusaders chat about when we got enough stuff to talk about and go on. Well, actually, They announced Jurassic Park shit today, so we might have enough for a show just on that alone. Yeah, we'll be back for another episode of that. But until next time, we are the Movie Crusaders. And in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.